the Sandoval of it all with, I mean, we're going to get into that today, right? We're going to talk a little bit about...
I'm down for whatever, but it's male fragility. And I don't know if Tommy I don't know if Tommy's like up to date on this stuff, but he's another person that will not take the L of like, you could have been having a midlife crisis, which is totally acceptable and happens to everybody. But having an 8-month relationship on top of a relationship that you were lying and sneaking around with most everybody, having like then taking this person around friends and family in your hometown in St. Louis, it's like I have empathy, but to a degree that was really wrong, period. Like no matter how you cut it, it was wrong to have an 8-month affair that you are still in. And then this person, you had 8 months to know this stuff, and this person is catching up to it a month and a half ago. And of course, it's going to shatter them because he was lying about it. On this Mandela interview, he says, I'm not going to, he got her into therapy because he wanted the therapist to break up with her. He was like, I did couples therapy. Usually people go into couples therapy
to save the
to work on it.
relationship.
I was in couples therapy with my ex.
Yeah.
I didn't go in there to have the therapist break us up.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe we can salvage whatever this is. He did it. And so he goes, and the craziest thing was like, she started changing. She was like, turned into this beautiful person. And he was like, unfortunately, I already decided I wanted to end it. And it was like,
God.
dude, like
Yeah.
she didn't even know when in therapy that he had a full relationship on the side.
Have you met him?
Many
Sandoval?
times.
Of
Oh,
course.
dude,
He's got a very Jim Jones aspect to him. Like he thinks he's the, you know what I mean?
Well,
The
Tommy,
cat's
I gotta
meow.
tell you, I was licking that guy's balls up, and I thought he was the coolest because I thought, what a weird dude.
See,
I
we know.
I do weird stuff. I have a podcast. I'm like, I do weird stuff. Like he
We're
does
best
weird
friends.
stuff too. I look up to that.
It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of like, I've lived out in LA, and because you were in the acting field, and I worked a lot in the nightlife. And when you work in the nightlife in LA, they're all actors. They're all entertainers. They all want to be at that. So they all think there's an element of narcissism amongst all of them. And he thinks he's a star. And when you think you're a star and you're not a star, it's got to eat at you, especially when you said you get to that midlife point and, you're doing these shows at the bar you own. You know what I mean? It's not like you're out doing tours like you think you are or you should be. And this other girl is a Kool-Aid drinker, dude. You know what I mean? Like she's following
she's
around.
a reflection of what he
Rachel.
wants to see in himself.
Yes.
Rachel,
He's
yeah.
like,
Yes.
can you believe? He's like, and then I met her, and she gave me like a new lease on
Yes.
life, and it's like,
Yes.
of course she did.
Yes.
I love
It's
he
like,
has a list.
oh, well, in my version of it, I do like imitate, and like there's a
Kinda does,
slight.
though.
Nobody
Yeah.
really catches it,
It's
but
there.
I extend the lisp a little bit. But no, I just think it's so ridiculous. Of course, somebody new that looks up to you like you're like king shit is going to be the best thing since sliced bread when you've been with somebody for 9 years and they know you inside and out and won't let you get away with stuff.
Yes.
Well, what
Of
he
course, it's
did-
exciting.
Yes.
When he was on Howie Mandel's show, the way that he talked about on this podcast, on Howie's podcast, he didn't focus at all about the betrayal on Ariana. All he focused on was how he and Ariana's passion fire had started to fade after 10 years, which show me a relationship that is real and you live together and you have this, complicated real life together and the sizzle doesn't kind of what you say come.
Tommy,
off
would
the
you like to
stage.
speak to this?
Well,
Because he didn't say anything about betraying Ariana. All he focused on was that she was depressed.
Yes.
And I was
Well,
depressed.
I
and how
think there's an
different
element
we were
of
during our
he
depression.
can't be, and I'm not sticking up for him, but I think there's an element of he can't be honest to the degree of like we're on a show, and we're like I don't want to wreck the show. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what he said. She goes, I asked her in therapy what she would do if we hypothetically broke up. And she said, I would leave the show. I would move away. I would delete. And he goes, and that's not fair. I've shared all my stuff on this show and you're just going to walk away. And I'm like, dude, this is her actual life. Your brain is so mush from being on 10 seasons of a show that you think she owes it to you to help the show. But later on, he backtracks and he's like, I don't owe this show nothing. They're going to interrogate me, Lala and Sheena. No. And it's like, dude, you can't have it both ways. You want her to share things, but then you're not going to be interrogated for your own behavior. As a dude, I was even starting to get confused because I'm like, for somebody that said you were in therapy for a long time, I can't imagine a therapist letting you say half of the things that you're saying right now.
100%.
And as someone, and without throwing names out there, I've met people in this sphere where all of a sudden the show becomes more important than their real life relationships, their real life dealings with others.
Are you talking about Mercedes?
Hell no.
And I think that's
I
where
should have
he's
been more
at.
that way.
I think that's where he's at. He wants to be loved.
Oh,
He has
yeah.
that element where he wants to be a
That's
star.
why this kills him.
Wants
He
to be, killing
thought
him.
he
Killing him.
thought that people would, because he thought he was going to get away with this without being found out about Raquel.
Yes.
He was trying to structure the breakup so she never. But unfortunately, his phone dropped
Right.
out, and they found a sexy
Yes.
video on it, and then
Right.
she realized that the Raquel thing really was going on. He thought he was going to walk away, look like a hero because he was honest about his feelings, went to therapy, brought her to it, and then he was going to soft launch Raquel later on,
Yep.
way after the reunion, and he got busted.
Yep.
And now he just can't understand why 2 months ago people loved him,
Yep.
and now people are completely confused and betrayed by him.
Yep.
The last episode.
Great take. It's very true. It's
Very true. The last episode of VPR that aired, there was a slip that a lot of people might have caught. I definitely rewound it twice or 3 times to hear it
Butt
again.
slap or the Tom?
James.
Oh, yeah.
James
Yes.
Kennedy saying, "So you've hooked up with
You've
Tom.
hooked up with Peter. You've hooked up with Schwartz. You've hooked up with Tom.
Sandoval, yes.
Yeah, like well, he said Tom, but he said it in this weird way. I don't know exactly what that meant because Sandoval and Ariana were at that dinner table like 2 seats down. I don't know if James was just speaking facetiously because Sandoval was such a kiss ass to her. Like
No.
I don't know
Do you know what I know?
what. Please.
Okay, so you know Patrick and Paul.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the dudes. Yeah, Jeff Lewis and
so
Sheena's wedding.
Patrick and Paul, who did Sheena's dress, they were in Cancun and they were in one of those corridors that led to an elevator where Tom and
Raquel.
Sandoval and Raquel were kissing, and there were no cameras around, and they saw it and they said it publicly. They did hook up, and so James.
But Sandoval was like, no, that you didn't see that. Like,
Well, when James basically named Sandoval as one of the 3 people and was open to Rachel about it. So it had happened, is what I'm saying. It had happened. She had already made out.
It had publicly happened. To
No.
them,
they
amongst them.
saw
It
they
had-
saw this happen, but Ariana was not there and was not aware of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But they had told James in that trip, obviously, because he said Tom.
I don't think Patrick and Paul said anything until in real time. I don't think they said anything to anybody, but they saw it. But I think James. Yes. Sorry. It's so tangled. Yes.
It's like-
James Kennedy must have known about it, but not seen it as a 7-month-long affair. You know, he
Yeah.
just had seen like the hookup.
Oh, it blew me away. Like I've hung out with those guys. I've hung out with Raquel. I've like you know I did not believe it. I was like no. I mean I was just with Ariana. We were there at Watch What Happens. We were talking
Yes.
that night about like
Yes.
the situation about Lala going on Watch What Happens Live and saying she wanted to be Ariana, have her be single next. She was telling me about that Tom wasn't happy with that, and I'm like weird. So even at that point, Tom was complaining that Lala went on Watch What Happens Live and said Ariana should be single and get away from Sandoval.
'Cause Sandoval
and he was in a
wants to
full-blown
control
relationship.
the
And he
narrative.
could have took the out.
Yes,
You know what
I was
I
like
mean?
that was it. That was the thing.
But it goes back to what you said earlier.
Ego.
It's all about the ego.
What
dude.
about
he
when he
wanted
said-
it on his terms?
Yes.
You know what I
He
mean?
wanted
Yes.
control.
Yes.
But he also said we were already on Howie. We were broken up. It just wasn't public. Privately, Tom
He said
and
2 weeks before he had tried to break up with her, and
Yeah.
then he goes, dude. And then she was like, do you want to fertilize one of my eggs? And I'm like, you're crazy.
Oh
like,
God.
I just said let's break. I'm like, yeah, that's so crazy. Somebody that actually wants to be with you is going to actually try to do whatever it takes to try to make this work.
Yes.
And he's like, it's crazy, man. I'm like, no, that's what you do in a relationship. She didn't want you to leave. She wanted to stay in this relationship.
Absolutely. When the sorry, I forgot my thought again. What was my thought again? We were just talking about it. You were just talking about it. We were just talking about
Goldfish.
I know. I'm really bad. I know. Okay, I forgot. It'll come back.
Tom's a cheater.
Tom's a cheater. It's okay. It's too many thoughts.
It's
It's hard because I like to listen. I don't like to cut out. It's fine. It'll come back. Okay. So where else are we going with this? Are we talking about? Oh, I know what it was.
Yes.
Let's not forget Rachel also kissed Garcelle Bouveau's son in
Yeah,
Vegas
Oliver.
this year.
And then
Yes,
Oliver turns out in this next episode, you find out that he was married at the time too, and he
Yes.
was cheating because Rachel gets a DM from Oliver's wife, and they have like, step kid, all this stuff saying that, listen, you're like cheating with my husband. So Rachel's having one of the worst, terrible, and bad years of her life. I mean, just cannot pick somebody that's not in a relationship. I mean, there's tons of single people out there. She could have picked one of those.
But how
people.
many single people are out there on reality television?
I don't
That's what
like
it comes
that she
down
said-
to. She's trying to be on TV.
But it's like I don't want to think of people as calculated like that because she comes off like truly like what Lala said, like a Bambi-eyed, not the
Yes.
bad word, but
Bitch.
and her voice is like
I'll say it.
it's
No, she's dumb as a- she's dumb as a box of rocks.
Well, that's what she comes off
But
like.
that
There's
doesn't
nothing.
mean that she doesn't have
Have
she's-
aspirations.
Yes, she's not enamored with all of this, and that's why she's just not making good decisions because she's not bright. Oh, he's on TV, I'll bang him. He's on TV, I'll bang him. You know what I mean?
But see,
So-
this is really cut and dry. It's like there's right and wrong in this world.
Yes.
Like I'm sorry, that's like you are doing something wrong. And I
Yes.
know Tom is the king doing something wrong person, but she did something wrong too. Like period.
For sure.
And the
Of
fact that
course.
like I do have empathy, but I'm like sorry, I'm not pulling my punches yet. I think this is
no.
really horrible behavior and this shouldn't be encouraged. Like normal people don't do this to people.
Of
like
course, it's not an intelligent. You don't have to be intelligent to know that you're not supposed to fuck over your friends. And when she says to Lala in this episode, there's a lot worse things I could have done, and you can see her mind drifting away.
yeah, she literally did one that day. She slept with
Exactly.
Sandoval at the hotel.
Yes, so she's not getting any passes about not being, quote, allegedly intelligent. You, Tommy, can say that she's dumb as a box of rocks, and that's your opinion.
No,
and
but
we
again,
hung out
that
with
has
her
nothing
and-
to do with. There's a lot of people on reality TV that ain't bright. It has
doesn't
nothing
have
She
to
to
do
also
with
might
it.
be book smart, but she also may be really dumb in how she handles interpersonal relationships
Yeah.
and her codependency issues on men.
Yes.
Right. And I know we're all reading that she's in rehab, which also does nothing for me.
Can I
Like,
give you a little? I hate to, as a grown man to say tea.
Give me
I
the
hate
tea,
I hate
honey.
tea. I hate gaslighting. I hate all
Oh my
these
God.
flipping words. I hate and I now just because I primarily have a female bait, I'm like, you guys want to hear some hot tea?
Tea I accept
Scorching
because
hot.
it's become part of that lexicon, but the gaslight,
But
it
he says
gives
we
me shivers up my
overuse it.
spine.
We use it
It's about
incorrectly.
everything now.
Everything's
It's
a
about everything.
gaslight.
Oh, he's
like-
gaslighting. She does it to me all
By the
the
way,
time.
when you
He's
sell a house
gaslighting.
with the agency, you're like, this has great gaslighting in here. Beautiful windows. A lot of gaslighting comes in.
Yes.
No, is that I got word today from somebody very close to the source is that ET released a statement that Rachel went to a mental health center, but it's actually a wellness retreat.
Oh.
And Tom Sandoval will be going there next week. But it's like something like Miraval is very different than an inpatient, so while I champion her getting any help she needs or getting away, but I also champion her and Tom not being on reality TV for a while
Right.
and trying to come down to earth if this relationship matters at all to them. But I also think it's very interesting to put out these kind of blanket PR things that are really do pull at the heartstrings because I truly believe everybody cares about everybody's mental health, even if they've done something wrong. But a wellness retreat is very different than a
You and I
rehab
can go to
facility.
But
yeah,
that's
you
also-
and I can go to a wellness retreat for the weekend and take a lot of turmeric and green juice.
Get colonics. I'll be like, I just
Yeah.
passed some really bad stuff out
That's
of
also
me.
become a major touchstone to the mental health aspect. That that you could just, if I say that,
say mental health,
if I
you
say
have to back
you
off.
have to back off. You have to relax. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, you're right. So
If they
it's
could
to
only-
absolve them of things.
If they could only go off of reality TV for a couple of years, did you notice that in the Howie interview, Sandoval said he couldn't afford to leave the house because he didn't have the money to stay somewhere else?
What he said, he didn't have any friends that could do it. He couldn't
that
afford. I'm
would
like, go
host
live with
him.
your buddy Schwartz, your best friend.
But
But
how
let's
about,
call
aren't
a
you
spade a
spending so much money on that 9-piece orchestra
Dude,
band
he
that
pays
you?
for the whole band.
He pays for
'Cause
their
again,
food. He
he's
pays
not
for their
He's
clothes.
just in his mind, he's a star. You know
Dude,
what
have
I
you
mean?
seen that? You've seen Boogie Nights, right?
Yes.
The movie Boogie Nights. It reminds me
Yes.
of Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Top porn star, but then he decides he wants to start a band.
Yes.
And he's like, "We will rock you." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Let's put this down." Like
Yeah.
Tom is in that living out his
the
fantasy.
magic.
Like he's like, and
Yeah.
to me, it was really fun when I thought this dude was completely a committed dude, wasn't a creep, wasn't like
Totally.
chasing women. I really bought into that. At BravoCon, I was like partying my balls off. Like I was like,
Yeah.
it was literally fun to hear cover songs when you actually believe in the person. That magic gets taken away. No offense to the band who I know are professional musicians, but that
course they
magic
are.
kind of disappears
Yeah,
when I'm like,
it
oh,
becomes sad.
you just a creep? Like,
just-
you
it
just
becomes
That's why
sad.
when Tommy would say he thought he was such a big star, I said, look, if that's the worst thing you could say about him, it's not that bad, because it's okay to be self-promotional. That's something
we talked about that before the thing. I wish I could believe
Had
in
more
myself
of
as
that
much
in
as
me.
Tom Sandoval. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Like,
We
but
all
I
have-
do sometimes think about this. Do you ever like, I'm like, okay, well, it's great that I'm not super confident and cocky, because maybe I would be creeping on women as much as, maybe I would be a bad person. Maybe like my insecurity has prevented me from doing some of the things that men always seem to get themselves trapped in.
That's
of
true.
These kind of like, you know, because you see it time and time again. There's like and I have, like I said, a primarily female audience, and they'll show like, and I don't know if we're allowed to use strong language on the show, but it's like,
Yes, we can.
you know, they laugh. They're like, oh yeah, I've got like a folder of dick pics. Oh yeah, totally common, totally. And I'm like, I've never sent a dick pic in my. Are you kidding me? You know,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, like, I'm just like, it'd have to be the right angle, the right gaslighting in there, you know, but like, it's so commonplace. They're like, oh yeah, if a dude hits me up in a DM, it's immediately like dick pics the second one. And I'm like,
it's like the third text.
and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Are they going to jail? They're like, no, this is how humanity works.
But I
think
also
you'll
believe
be,
it was
I think you'll be okay.
I think it was a
with that.
perfect storm too. Like he found the perfect person with this girl, because again, he was looking for that worship. He was
Yes.
looking for, you know, that's not going to happen with just any other girl that you meet. Even if you're cheating or whatever, like there's going to be he found the girl that was willing to follow him around like a fawn.
And in his head, he goes, oh, she's on the show too?
Yep.
We could be eventually a power couple like
Yep.
me and Ariana were.
But I'm the
Like,
lead.
Yeah, like I
Yes.
get to, and I think we had blown his ego up so much because I think Ariana like kind of made us look at him in a different way, separating him from Jackson Schwartz on VPR of like, wow, what a really solid stand-up guy that's so in love with Ariana. And we bought into that. And I think he didn't realize that part of that was the Ariana relationship. He thinks it was like, it was just me. I'm amazing. Like they see how amazing I am. You
And
know?
that's one of the pitfalls to me of reality television, because at least when you're talking acting, music, or whatever, those people have talent, right? They you could see the talent, where
Actors.
reality people, they're just normal people. So sometimes they get real full heads to think that they're better than the other people. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, I think talent on reality TV is chosen because we're quippy or
Yeah.
interesting, or we are comfortable in front of a camera,
All
or
that.
relatable, all of those things. But it's not a skill that we went to school for, like real
Could you
actors.
imagine?
but we personally,
They will
probably
teach that
couldn't.
someday at USC or
They
something.
probably
we
will.
personally know
They probably
someone that
will.
was on reality television, without dropping names, that when a fan wanted to take pictures, said that they come to me, I don't go to them. And when you get into that type of mindset, that's when it's, you're not, you know what I mean? You're not special, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Just like if a guy wants to, if you're like single and a guy wants to talk to you and they'll point at you and tell you to come over here with their finger, I'm like, I would never get up and come and walk over to you. If I was interested in you and thought you were attractive, you already lost your chance.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just a cocky ego. Nobody wants any of it. One more thing I noticed last night in the VPR episode was that Tom Schwartz said in his interview that he had lost his mojo, his self-confidence, and his fire inside, and the kiss with Raquel gave it back to him, which also Sandoval said, talking to Howie, that they had lost this something inside until
She's got the
she
magic
came
kiss.
along. Jesus Christ, it's bullshit. It is just like you said, the guy that likes to control a girl.
But Schwartz, even at the time, this is funny. Schwartz goes, he goes, I stopped feeling, he goes, I just haven't felt sexy in the longest time. And like, I just felt so not desired. I'm like, I've never felt sexy, you loser. What are you talking? Like, men aren't supposed to go around feeling sexy. Like, no offense, all the men wanting to feel sexy, but it's like, we're like, what? You've not felt desired? Like, boo-hoo. Are you kidding me?
And
You made a
therefore,
whole living out of
you should
reality
go where?
television. You don't feel desired. You don't feel sexy. Like, dude,
Exactly.
it cracks me up. Like, we are so fragile. Like, the male ego is one of the most fragile egos, and we say, women are emotional and all that stuff, but it's so we don't even hear ourselves talk sometimes.
For sure.
It's crazy.